The subject of affordable housing takes center stage Friday in Maple Grove. A group of leaders, including U.S. Congressman Dean Phillips, gathered for a community conversation on the issue. Delane Cleveland is at the Maple Grove Government Center with more. Delane?
Hi, Shannon. This community conversation features some of Minnesota's top decision makers on affordable housing. This group includes the Minnesota Housing Commissioner, one of the executives of the Minnesota Housing Partnership, and a familiar face to the area who now serves on the Metropolitan Council.
It impacts everybody. If you're a first-time home buyer, good luck trying to find something that works for you and then not be in competition for that property. And it also impacts everybody across the whole continuum because we have a shortage of housing across the whole spectrum, which is putting pressure points at certain income levels throughout the region and state.
According to the Metropolitan Council, the Twin Cities Metro is not keeping up with the need for housing that's affordable to families with low incomes. Nearly 9,000 affordable units were added to the region's housing stock between 2011 and 2017. But the Met Council says that's far below the 52,000 affordable units needed to keep pace with household growth. In fact, the region has likely lost more affordable units than it has produced since 2011. Today's gathering, hosted by Democratic Congressman Dean Phillips, aims to help reverse that trend.
We have some of the greatest disparities here in our region and state. We need to look at that. And how does it impact our economic competitiveness? Because there's a big piece of that too. And so I think it's great that people are coming together to learn more, to band together and find solutions, because it's not one entity that has the solutions. We all have to pitch in.
Now, it's worth noting that Governor Tim Walz recommended earlier this month his bonding proposal for the Minnesota legislature to borrow $276 million to pay for affordable housing projects across the state. Reporting live in Maple Grove, Delane Cleveland, CCX News.
All right, thank you, Delane. The families who are staying at Crescent, Cove, and Brooklyn Center won't get to attend TwinsFest, so one Minnesota Twins player brought TwinsFest to them. Outfielder Max Kepler and his mom Kathy stopped by Friday morning to talk baseball with some of the families. Crescent Cove is the only children's hospice and respite home in Minnesota.
It's a very humbling experience, and you can tell the kids are very comfortable here, and it's nice to meet them in this type of environment.
It really impacts that people say and see, wow, this mission and these children matter so much, that they have the eyes and the hearts of our beloved baseball players and legends.
Crescent Cove's history is actually linked very closely to some legendary Minnesota Twins. Harmon Killebrew started advocating for a children's hospice back in the 1990s, and his foundation is still very involved with Crescent Cove. You never know until you try. That is the theme behind Stages Theater's latest production. Neil Persley has more in today's Weekend Showcase.
Very funny. I just can't draw.
Just make a mark and see where it takes you.
Just make a mark and see where it takes you becomes the theme and jumping off point for a whole series of artistic explorations for the main character in Stages Theater's original production of The Dot.
I think what Vashti learns is about taking risks. I think that for her, it's a fear of failure. It's actually a fear of not doing something well.
Vashti is a young girl who has no confidence in her artistic ability.
Throughout the story, she starts to learn that if she uses her imagination and believes in herself, then she can create wonderful things.
The show is filled with lots of color and wonderful projection work, and Hug It seems to really connect with the young audiences.
They get really excited, especially during the projection, when all of the different things come on. They'll be like, oh, there's a fish, there's a submarine. And I think they just really like all of those cool things because they're surprises and they didn't know that they were coming. And they also really like the dances, I think.
I think one of the things that makes this show really unique and actually beautiful is the fact that we fully integrated the idea of dance and interactive projection.
The small screen really does not do the show justice. It's truly a full theater experience. For Weekend Showcase from Stages Theater, Neil Persley, CCX News.
The Dot runs through February 17th in downtown Hopkins. It's a big weekend for Robbinsdale Brewery. Wicked Wort celebrates its 4th anniversary with plenty of festivities.
It's a lit up mini golf course in the lower level, and the bar is open down there too. We have a bar down there. We have 5 on tap down there. This bar will be open, that bar will be open, the bar downstairs will be open, all the bars will be open, and you know what? I'll be down there playing a little mini golf myself.
The festivities start at noon on Saturday with the release of a limited edition Russian Imperial Stout. Wicked Wort will also have live music on Saturday night. You need a break and you can't make it all the way to the coast? Eastman Nature Center has got the answer with their Winter Beach Party.
It just gives us a chance to have a little fun in the middle of winter time, kind of bring a little sunshine in amidst all the snow that we have.
This Saturday, Eastman Nature Center will rival the big beaches, Miami, Destin, and Daytona beaches, as they break out the sand, sun, and fun for this annual wintertime tradition. The cost is $5 for children ages 2 to 17 and is $3 for adults. Children under 2 are free. Reservations are recommended for this event, which happens on Saturday too. Just contact the Three Rivers Park District for more information.
After a long layoff, Osseo pro boxer Caleb Truax is back in action Saturday night. Truax will trade punches with David Bassa Amjavouli at the Minneapolis Convention Center. Truax and Bassa Amjavouli, along with other fighters on the card, hosted a press conference on Thursday in New Hope. Truax promoter Tony Gorgalko is hoping Saturday's card kicks off a great year of boxing in Minnesota. Truax is back in the ring Saturday after an injury-plagued 2019. And for the first fight of the new year, he is training at a new gym. Jason Melillo explains.
The ACR boxing gym has moved from Coon Rapids to this location in Spring Lake Park. Caleb Truax trained at the old ACR his entire career, but he's getting used to the new spot.
Yeah, the new digs is cool, man. We like it. We thought the roof didn't leak like the old one, but after the first snowstorm, we found out it did leak, so it feels like home.
Truax seems to be in good spirits after a frustrating 2019. He suffered a bad cut against Peter Quillen in a fight last April, but Truax was already hobbled by a leg injury prior to that match. In fact, he's fought only 2 rounds in the last 17 months.
That cut in the Quillen fight, the Achilles injury, and just things just not shaping up the way I want to. But I'm feeling good now. The cut's healed up. My Achilles is feeling good and just ready to make a splash in 2020 and get back into a title contention.
Truax will square off against David Bassa Amjavouli on Saturday night at the Minneapolis Convention Center. Bassa Amjavouli is a tough fighter with a 16-4-1 record.
He's a little bit wild. He throws big power punches, so got to be careful for those and just not get hit with anything stupid. And just go in there, stay tight, work the jab, work the body, and get out of there with a win.
If Truax comes out of Saturday's fight with a win and relatively unscathed, 2020 could be a golden year. Jason Melillo, CCX Sports.
Caleb's fight on Saturday is not on TV, but tickets are still available. For more information, go to TonyGpresents.com. The Wayzata boys hockey team won a state title in 2016 by knocking off Lake Conference rival Eden Prairie in the championship game. The Trojans look to knock off the top-ranked Eagles on Thursday. And scoreless in the second period when Dylan Lewis takes the pass, backhands a shot past Axel Rosenland, and Wayzata's up 1-0. 4 minutes later, it's Cole Sauer to Drew Streeter. He buries it on the rush. So his fourth line contributes a goal, and the Trojans lead 2-0 through 2 periods. Eden Prairie wins a draw. Enrico Brown gets a deflection goal 4.5 minutes into the third period. But it's Wayzata hanging on, and they topple #1 Eden Prairie 2-1. Dropping your lure all the way to the bottom of the lake can be an effective way to catch many species of fish. Terry Tuma explains in this week's CCX Ice Fishing Tip.
Have had several questions recently about pounding the bottom when you're fishing for crappies, walleyes, sunfish, and jumbo perch. Pounding the bottom is nothing more than taking your lure and really wrapping the bottom. So you're really jigging very, very violently, and what you're doing now is you're stirring up that bottom content, that sediment, and you're creating sort of a cloud, if you will. That cloud, it becomes an attractor, bringing those fish into that hole, sort of curiosity seekers, if you will. And then two, once you're pounding the bottom, don't constantly pound the bottom. Just bring that lure up to where those fish are at, and then hold it, and then provide some real subtle jigging action. But don't get so hung up that you have to always pound the bottom. Generally speaking, I'll pound the bottom when we have a tougher bite going, and also too, if all of a sudden the fish disappeared off your Vexilar, then you want to start to pound the bottom to see if you can draw these fish back into that hole. But very successful. Another great way to do this, if you've got a real tough bite, especially for walleye, is drill 2 holes about 3 feet apart. Now one, you're pounding the bottom. The next is a dead stick or a bob system, an attractor, and then your trigger.
Thanks, Terry. That is all for sports. More news after this.